Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another edition of Uncaged. We are at episode 4 of season 3, and by my side, there's a lot to talk about. The one, the only, DC Daniel Crimmins. Daniel, we're talking Rumble surprises, and let's just do a brief overview of what did you think of last night's Royal Rumble, my friend?
Overall, I enjoyed it. If we're giving it a letter grade, I would say solid B minus.
I would give it that. Yeah.
I think the Fatal 4-Way was very good. Nobody looked weak.
No. What I
And
like
people say, Randy should have won. AJ should have won. You are not going to have Roman drop the title before WrestleMania 40. Do I think he's dropping it at Mania? Absolutely, I think he is.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought it looked good. The several false finishes I thought were really, really good. It was weird that Jimmy didn't get involved.
Yeah, they had Solo get involved. My thought on
Just
that.
Solo.
Yeah, my thought on that too is if you want to set up a Mania match, I think they're going to go Solo and Randy Orton.
I would agree with that.
Which I don't hate, but if you do it, it should be very reminiscent and similar to Solo beating the crap out of John Cena and him just mollywhopping Randy Orton, building him as that monster.
I think what you do, you build up the story. Can Randy do it? You have Cena come back for not even a match, just an episode. I'm sure whatever he's doing, you can have him come do a break for one night of filming. And you just have Cena come out and just say, Randy, you need to take this seriously.
It's no joke.
Solo is different. And you could have him say, well, I beat Umaga and all this. So I just say, well, he's different.
It's a whole nother level.
And when he and here's what I really don't care for. We all know who Solo is. We know what he looks like. We know who he is. So you see a guy come out in, the hoodie, and I was thinking, okay, maybe this is Jacob Fatu.
No, it was Solo.
Or Zilla Fatu, Umaga's kid.
Yeah.
No. We get this?
Yeah, very, very reminiscent of what we've seen from Solo a lot. And I will say this about the world title match. I did not hate it. I know a lot of people on Twitter thought it was kind of boring. But I'm like, first of all, okay, we advanced the story of LA Knight goes for the blunt force trauma. Yeah, Knox goes to AJ. That sets up AJ versus LA Knight because of their continued beef. Randy Orton doesn't get...
That's going to be at Elimination Chamber. I see LA Knight versus Logan Paul at Mania.
Yeah.
But here's honestly what it did.
What?
Roman won clean.
Yeah, well, people will say,
it made you hate Roman even more.
Yeah, and I mean, people will argue like Solo got involved, but he legit won clean. He didn't need any other interference. It was a miscommunication with LA Knight and AJ Styles that made him win by spear and AJ. It was clean.
Yeah, and now people hate Roman even more.
Which is the best part about it, because he didn't need to cheat or do any chicanery. It was just one slip on the banana peel, and he won. And I mean, Roman and Randy, Elimination Chamber, because he didn't get pinned, so I'm guessing that's where we're going for Perth.
Unless we get Rocky.
Yeah, I mean, for me, if they don't do it at Mania, my next bet for that would be SummerSlam.
If they do it at all.
If they do it at all, yeah. I don't know, man. I think I like them that they're playing the long game. I know The Rock is very big into playing the long game, so let's see where it goes.
And now we also have Rock,
TKO
as on the board of directors. Which this rumor is that he's going to be the new public face of WWE.
If you're going to send any positive light and not have a PR nightmare, it's The Rock.
You need to have somebody that is not a McMahon, either by blood or marriage. And Triple H is a McMahon.
Yeah. I
know his name is Paul Levesque, but
yeah.
he's a McMahon.
I don't see him going any of their way because if you got Triple H, Nick Khan, and Dwayne Johnson, I mean that's a positive right there for the company. I know a lot of the talent want to see Stephanie McMahon come back with everything that's happened now, especially for the women. But yeah, man, it's a very interesting time with the fact that Vince is finally out. He's finally gone. I mean, when Slim Jim pulled out, you knew that they had to get it back, and they did. We saw that last night with the Royal Rumble. But god dang it,
Exactly.
but god dang it, man! Like with everything that went on, I mean, we'll mention this briefly before we get back to the Rumble itself. We mentioned the world title match, but another thing that happened was the press conference afterwards. Everybody's been getting on Triple H with how he answered that doggone question about Vince because he just
You
wants
know,
to focus on the positives. Okay.
people don't understand business. They don't understand PR.
Yeah.
Let's look at. There's so many aspects here. There's legal.
Mhm.
There's the civil. Well, there's the lawsuit. He probably, I'm sure TKO's lawyers told him. They said, "Look, here's what you can say. Here's what you can't."
Mhm.
Do I think Triple H necessarily knows? Do I think he knows more than he lets on? Absolutely. But I think he was instructed what to say and what not to say. But like I said, there's the legal, because anything, I guarantee you, the accuser's lawyers were watching that press conference.
Oh yeah.
If they're smart, they are watching it just because you got to figure if they see one thing, there you go.
My,
So realistically, they're
yeah.
watching it. And honestly, what it was a no-win situation. So I think he said what he could say.
Mhm.
Do I think there's going to be more coming out? Absolutely. But I think more importantly, he tried to keep the focus on the event. And it's like, it was a no-win. Nobody was, whether he said too much, if he had gone in and said, this, that, and the other thing, people have said, oh, he said too much.
Right.
He shouldn't have said all that. To quote Daniel Bryan, people are fickle.
True. I got to add to your point though. Did you like the fact that when somebody asked him about, what are you going to do for it's safe for the women in the locker room, his exact answer, everything possible. Like that is a great answer to add to that. Everything possible. We're gonna do everything possible to make sure it's a safe working environment for everybody, and that none of this happens. You know what I'm saying? And then my thing would be they put out the statement with TKO that they're gonna internally go after this. Like there was everything in place for him to talk about. I know Nick Hausman asked the question. I know many other people. John
Because of
Alba.
course it was going to be him.
All right. I wasn't gonna do it, but you're bringing me in here. You're bringing me in. So Nick Hausman, of course, he was going to be it, like Daniel said, and
He
also
was
you
going to
could
be the
tell.
guy.
You could tell, like when he asked that question, the room like was really pissed at the fact that he asked that question because the guy goes on a positive note. The next guy who asked the question, I'm like, this motherfucker. Everywhere he goes, Nick Hausman has to start something. He
But he
does.
does. Didn't he start the bullshit with CM Punk at the All Out press conference? Wasn't that him?
Yeah, that was him asking about, Cole Cabana and I used to be friends. And he's like, are you still Cole Cabana? No, we had a falling out and CM Punk and Nick Hausman. Yes, that was him.
Like, dude, stop. Just fucking stop.
He's the one who said the shit about Jericho, which is still ongoing and whatnot with that. Like he has
And
a big mouth.
beyond the civil trial, the civil suit,
Yeah.
you got to think potentially there's legal, there's criminal.
Yeah. I mean, we saw the 67-page lawsuit out there. It's not pretty. You've read the texts. We've seen a lot of what
I had to stop.
I had to too, dude. Was it like sickening right in the stomach, right? It was sickening.
And I'm not a conspiracy theorist here,
Okay.
and I'm not saying this didn't happen, but the timing is a little strange.
But then I got
What
two.
what I think happened is, what was it? What was Vince's logic for coming back to negotiate a sale
Mhm,
and negotiate the media rights deal, right?
mhm.
And then he was gonna retire again, right?
Yes.
What if he told them, yeah, I'm not leaving?
That, I think, was a big thing. Like, he was very high strung on staying around and being involved with everything. I'm going to stay around even if you don't want me to. He was very big on pushing his weight around and throwing his weight around to be back.
So, I mean, am I saying they're connected? No, but and I've got to think there's still, of course, good old Ryback had to shoot his mouth off.
Triple H should be gone. Triple H should be gone.
Well, most recently, he said there's more going to come out about Vince.
Well, here's my thing. When he was with that company, he loved it. Now that he's not with that company, he hates it. Whatever.
And are we saying he's wrong? No. I mean,
no, but of course he has to open his mouth because he has a vendetta against them. But it's so, it's such a sticky situation. And for me, like you were talking about, you couldn't read anymore. You read the text, first of all, John Laurinaitis is a piece of shit, number one, as we all know. Number two, Brock Lesnar. Were you shocked? I mean, once you read about a former UFC champion, they didn't say him by name, but Brock Lesnar. When you first heard the Brock Lesnar name involved, what were your thoughts on that?
My thought was him? Really?
Brock Lesnar? Really? I mean, first of all,
when they said a former WWE champion and a UFC champion, I'm thinking like, okay, that's three people.
Yeah, Brock Lesnar.
It's Ronda, it's Brock, and it's Ken Shamrock.
And it's not Ken Shamrock, and it's not Ronda.
Ken Shamrock hasn't been with WWE for like 25 years.
Right, and it ain't Ronda.
So who does that leave?
Yeah.
I mean, I guess, no, Dan Severn never held a WWE championship.
No.
But, like, and he was in WWE for all of a cup of coffee.
Oh, my God. Mid-90s, yeah. Mid to late 90s, yeah.
So, like, but even some of the shit about him, like, dude.
Yeah.
And so many little things now make sense. Like when Vince retired, or when Vince was forced out the first time, and Brock stormed out.
I'm not working with anybody but Vince. And he stormed Kevin Dunn. All right, I'm going to say Kevin Dunn, when he left, it makes sense. There's a lot of stuff that really makes sense on what happened and transpired around that time. And I mean...
And I got to think, and I was talking to the guys last night and previous days, I got to think TKO is currently... They're getting hush-hush about this. And honestly, I think you're going to see more people retire in the next, weeks, months. I wouldn't be shocked if Bruce Pritchard retires.
I think that was my thing. I'm glad you brought this up. Bruce Pritchard was a McMahon guy. Ronda Rousey said what she had about Bruce and how she was kind of the buffer and he with Vince and everything. Because he's always been a Vince guy. I could see Bruce Pritchard going out.
And, it's like, I think other people involved, it's...
Michael P.S. Hayes.
I wouldn't be shocked if he goes. I really think this is going to be the old guard going.
I think if you need to make a change like we're doing, I would keep, like I said, Triple H, Nick Khan, Rock, Stephanie. Bring the core people there. I mean, then you hear Shane McMahon talking about the thing, and Vince is trying to get Shane involved in all that and do what he was doing at the time.
And Shane seems like a decent guy. Like
you never said that the
crew loved him. Do you bring him in?
I mean, I don't know if he would want to do like the road and traveling again, but it's a thing.
Well, I mean, like from an executive standpoint.
From an executive standpoint, man, I don't know. I think because of who you got on the thing right
and his
now,
name, the name, I think
name. But the thing I have to say with Shane, like you mentioned, he hasn't pissed anybody off. A lot of people like him, much like they like Stephanie. But I don't think Shane wants to deal with that headache. And number two, like he's got a wife, he's got kids. He just wants to spend time with his family.
And, the people beyond the woman named in the lawsuit, the other victims here are Vince's grandchildren.
Oh, my Lord, yes.
His oldest grandson, Declan, he's in college. He's a young kid. He's in the prime of his life, just trying to be a kid. And you can't tell me these poor kids, they don't see it on the internet. They don't hear, their friends don't talk about it.
You're around young men who are in college, who are athletics, who know who his grandfather is. They know who his father is. So you can't help but see it. It's all over the national news. And I have to mention this. Like,
Declan, Shane's oldest, he looks just like Vince.
oh, absolutely. That was what I was going to say. Yes. Did you also notice that at the stock exchange when they were ringing the bell, like here's The Rock ringing the bell, right in the middle, and here's Nick Khan over all the way over here, Triple H all the way over here, not even wanting to be around Vince.
Because I think they knew this was coming.
Oh, I definitely think they knew this was coming, but I think they didn't think it was going to happen 2 days before the Rumble. They may have thought maybe after the Rumble, but no, here we are.
And honestly, I think they tried to get Vince to step aside now that the deal was done. I think Vince refused.
Mm-hmm.
And I think Ari Emanuel, I think they went to him and said, look, he's got to go. And if Slim Jim had not pulled out, would Vince have resigned? I don't think so.
I mean, they put it on pause, is what the exact wordage was with Slim Jim. And then, like we said, we saw him last night back at the Rumble. But yeah, that was a big thing. It's like, okay, now you're costing us sponsorships and millions here. Like, you gotta go, number one. And number two, you have to look at it from a standpoint too as well. It's like, y'all got this Netflix deal coming in 2025. Like, nah, you ain't gonna be around.
And I think even beyond that, the people don't realize the USA deal ends in October.
Yes, that's correct.
You got about 3 months where Raw doesn't have a home.
Oh yeah, it's going to be very interesting to see where they're going to place it. Like right before the Netflix thing all comes out.
Where do you see it going?
I mean,
does USA give them a small extension?
If I were USA, I would give them the extension just because of the years and the tenure that they put in there and the relationship.
And they got SmackDown too. So
yeah, they got SmackDown, but I mean the Bonnie Hammer thing, I would just let them ride out the extension to USA to the end of the year, and then you go to Netflix right after that.
Yeah, it's or does Peacock, because Peacock's losing WWE.
Oh yeah, I mean
at least that's how I understood it.
Oh yeah, and I mean you got the network coming towards the end at the end of this year, which after 10 years, bye WWE Network. Yeah, it's
no more $9.99.
$9.99.
I still remember Michael Cole hyping that up and JBL just saying, "Michael, shut up. We all know how much it costs.
What you gonna pay? $9.99."
But I will say this, because supposedly everything's going to be on Netflix.
Oh yeah, the library, everything.
And to me, that is a smart business move.
No, wholeheartedly. I mean, you have a 5-year deal, $5 billion. No, 10-year deal, excuse me, $5 billion, right?
And that I guarantee you, it wasn't. They didn't do this for Raw. They didn't.
No.
They did it for the library. WWE, WCW, ECW, the territories, everything WWE owns.
You have to look at it from a stance too as well, like with how popular streaming is, and cable's going to be kind of going into the background. Like it's a smart deal because everybody streams.
And as I made the point, I think I messaged it to you. AEW is going to be renegotiating their TV rights deal soon if they aren't already doing it.
Mm-hmm.
What is Nick? I guarantee you, Tony Khan watched that deal, and even now he's probably thinking, does Tony Khan maybe pursue Prime? I know he said he's happy with Warner, but if Warner doesn't give him a deal where, I think AEW is a proven commodity. They get good ratings. Mm-hmm. The fans, you get good engagement on social media. Does Warner stick with them? Personally, and I think this is what happened. I think they were negotiating with Warner, but I think, Warner is probably going to keep the NBA. So as such, WWE wasn't going to get what they wanted from Warner. So I think they went a different way. And I think if NBA does stick with Warner, I think Tony Khan is just going to get, what he currently has. But so does he go to a different network? Like I've said to the guys, this is a brave new world we're in.
I think first of all, he would be nuts not to try to pursue an Amazon Prime, like we mentioned, streaming and how big that is and the commodity that it is and the conglomerate. Yeah. Dude, like I get the Warner Brothers thing, but it's like, Tony, everybody's doing streaming now. Like, again, we talk about cable going to the background. That's like why I look at him in pay per view. Like I love to see him have like a streaming thing like WWE has, like with Peacock
Yeah.
and they have it on Netflix
Why,
instead of.
why don't you use Max?
I, I agree with that, but the problem is like a lot of people. He thinks like for what he's given to the people with all these matches, it's worth the 50 some odd bucks. I'm like, but Tony, nobody really wants to pay $50. There, but trust me, there's still people that pay for WWE for the $45 that it is on pay per view, myself not included. But god dang it, man! Like, come on, man, let's up with the times. Let's upgrade
Yeah.
you, if you will.
You know, and maybe part of it is he's afraid that, Warner would want more input on the show. Maybe.
Man, I don't know what goes through that man's head, but I think it's going to be very interesting to see where AEW lands on their feet for the year 2024 and just how everything goes, man. And
It's
just everything.
exciting, honestly, to think. And now, what is this also? This frees up Monday night.
Yeah, man. Like, let's see where everything goes. I mean, first of all, with Netflix, you could be on whatever day they want, right?
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
I mean, does Tony Khan, does he think, okay, well, Collision's on Saturday. Does he maybe say, oh, well, so and so they have a game on Saturday. We're going to run Collision on a Monday. Does he try it out? Does Scott D'Amore, does he, trying to say, okay, we're going to try this again and run Impact on Monday nights?
the AEW Impact Monday Night War. Okay.
Does New Japan, did they try? It really is a brave new world. Or does Brett Lauderdale, does he work with Nick Gage and say, okay, you know what, we're gonna run a Monday night show
With GCW, yeah. Man, I'm excited for what does come with it. I think with Impact, they got Access TV. New Japan's on Access TV with the older stuff. But man, I'm excited to see where everything goes. And I think, like you mentioned, it's this exciting time for professional wrestling. And we're only in January, folks. We're not
yeah.
even. We're only in January. And January,
And
as we know,
we talked excitement. We had TNA featured prominently in the Women's Royal Rumble.
dude, Jordan Grace, TNA Knockouts champion, up in the mix.
We had Naomi making her re-debut, and
Yeah.
I gotta say it, the emotion on her face. You could tell she was fighting back tears.
I mean, we saw in the the post exclusive, like she was crying. She was really happy. But man, here's the thing with her. She's under a new regime now. She's not under the Vince McMahon regime. She's under the Triple H regime now. And you could tell, like, from the work she put in at TNA, and especially the match of Hard to Kill with Jordan Grace, and they hugged during that match. Like, dude, I love that. And I'm going to add this point to you. Jordan Grace to put out on Twitter, like, this is not the last you're going to see of TNA and WWE. If we can get a TNA wrestler like a Jordan Grace wrestling at WrestleMania, I'm happy with it. I think we're going to have a great relationship now with Scott D'Amore because, number one, he's a former wrestler, and him and Triple H are cool. This is not back in the day with the Dixie Carter era. This is Scott D'Amore, Triple H.
Carter and Detta Rhodes.
Yes.
What I would love to see, and we talk of fantasy booking, maybe we fantasy book a TNA WWE, maybe Jordan Grace and Lyra Valkyria.
Jordan Grace and Bianca Belair, Jordan Grace and whomever. Like, I'm for
and
it.
Jordan Grace looked like $1 million last night.
She came in, started German, mollywopping people, the back elbows. I love the exchange with Naomi, like we mentioned, but she did really, really good. I was very much.
How many times did they say TNA wrestling? TNA wrestling, like
a lot.
Never once did they say, "Well, who is she?"
No, because I think, like, we talk about them branching out, and all right, I'm going to add the comment because a lot of people were astir on social media because Triple H said that the Forbidden Door name is silly and stupid.
And it is.
It is, which I thought it was funny, but I think they're branching out with TNA. And I mean, look at the territory days like we had in the 80s. Like, it's not really forbidden. And now I'm going to ask you what Triple H's comment. What did you think of that subtle little dig at Tony Khan?
I thought it was funny.
Me too.
And it's, and I'm going to say this, the first Forbidden Door pay-per-view that AEW had, okay, yeah, because it was new, it was Forbidden Door. Well, after the first one, it's not forbidden anymore.
It's just another pay-per-view.
I mean,
Well, look at
come up with a
ECW.
different name.
Well, look at WWE with ECW One Night Stand. Like, it was special because ECW is coming back in 05, and then 06, it was just turning into what would become the ECW brand with WWE, the third brand. And then they just made it WWE One Night Stand.
Sandman versus Zombie says what?
Oh, Sandman attacking Eugene says, hey. Um,
And he got mollywopped.
Oh, Molly whopped, he did. Sandman and Eugene and the zombie, God rest his soul. That's a future episode. But no, like, I loved Jordan Grace coming in, Naomi coming in. I thought Valhalla getting eliminated in 5 seconds and R-Truth. Like, why is all their women here? What's with all these women? Like, what's going on here? Like, it's the
R-Truth was great.
and he well, the hot tag to Dominic in the men's Royal Rumble. The hot tag was great. Like, everything he did was great.
I fully expected Valhalla to come out, just run out and just eliminate him.
I thought so too, but no, we didn't get that. We got Damian Priest pissed and just mollywhopping R-Truth on the end there.
What's going on there? Like, I feel like there's more story to tell there.
I think it adds a lot to what we're going to see with the Judgment Day going into WrestleMania and into Perth as well. But man, I was really excited to see Andrade back in the men's Royal Rumble. I thought Andrade did very well. I think they're setting up Andrade to go with the LWO on SmackDown.
He looked good.
He did.
And you know what? He looked happy to be back.
I think when you're all right, I'm not going to say his AEW run was terrible, but they didn't know how to use him. And I'm going to put it bluntly, they did not. Like, the Rusev feud with Miro there was kind of whatever. Yeah.
Not to cut you off, but like, part of the problem is they have a bloated roster. WWE does too. I'm not saying they don't.
Mm-hmm.
But when you have somebody the caliber of an Andrade,
mm-hmm.
a guy who is everything that Alberto Del Rio should have been, each company is trying to make forays into, the Latin American countries, and get the Hispanic, demographic. They're trying to. WWE has been looking for the next Rey Mysterio for the longest time.
I think you have that with Santos Escobar now.
You've got it with Santos. You've got it with Andrade. You've got it with Dragon Lee. You have a plethora of talent. Hell, I'll even go so far as to make it and say this. You have it with Dominic Mysterio.
Oh, yeah.
Dominic Mysterio is leaps and bounds above where he was 2-3 years ago.
Because he's under the learning tutelage and he's just learning and absorbing the knowledge. And when you're with Damian Priest and Finn Balor and Rhea Ripley, especially, who's someone so young as well, doing it, like, you can't go wrong, man.
He is leaps and bounds above where he was 3 years ago. He's working with a Finn Balor, with Priest, with Rhea, and I'll even say it, Jordan Devlin or
JD McDonough.
Him. Working with him, he's working with people that have time in the business, and he's learning. And you know what? Honestly, I think that they did him a disservice by not putting him in NXT.
For me, agreed. It's like when Sin Cara came in from AAA, the original one, and they didn't put him in NXT. They just sent him right to the main roster, and he didn't click. With Dominic, he was working with Seth Rollins in the beginning, but he was like just babyface Dominic. It's Ray's kid, and then it just kind of, really just.
He had the short hair. He looked. I mean, Seth Rollins can make anybody look good. He's a Ric Flair type where he can work with anybody and get you over.
Oh, absolutely. It's just it's one of those things too where you see really a lot of where they're going with the trajectory of Dominic Mysterio and everything that really goes into fruition with what the character build is. Yeah. But what I really do like about it is the fact that he got some shine in there, and him and Braun Breaker, like the fact that he eliminated Braun Breaker was great. I thought that was hilarious.
Yeah. I mean, does that, and I personally, as I've said, I think Braun got the spot that Brock was going to get. Braun looked like $1 million.
The thing too is like I also agree with Braun just spearing everybody out of their boots and just the showdown with Gunther made me go back to when they had that NXT Championship matchup. Like I thought that was really good. Okay, so which do you believe of the reports? Is it Braun Breaker was the Brock Lesnar spot, or was Pat McAfee the one who just Pat McAfee did the Drew Carey spot of I'm going to get in and then I'm going to meet?
And how great was that? How hilarious was that?
People shit all over that, and I'm like, but it's funny. Like he's in there with two big guys, Braun Breaker and Gunther, who are staring each other down, and it's like, bro, they're having Pat be afraid, but even though he's been in the ring, I'm like, you really want to get in between Braun Breaker and Gunther?
And not even that, Omos.
Yep, like that's the thing, and it was great to see Omos back.
Huge.
Agreed. Like he almost like bumped his head, like going through that little entrance. I saw that.
And honestly, that is how you use Omos. You don't have him be on the show all the time. You don't need him.
You don't. And it's just it's one of those things that I love about the Royal Rumble. And I mean, people were complaining that there wasn't enough surprises. I'm like, but when you have such a stacked roster and you have the NXT roster included, you really don't need to do a lot of surprises. I mean, it was great to see Andrade. It was great to see Jordan Grace. It was great to see Naomi come back. But I mean, like, you have so many people on the roster, you don't really need a lot of surprises.
No. And, for what it was, you got to appreciate what Gunther, again, looked like $1 million.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, realistically, I would give him Money in the Bank 2024.
Agreed. I think if there's anybody to hold that briefcase and really stretch it out, I think it would be Gunther. It's the next trajectory.
And, he's like a final boss type. To the point where, honestly, he could take Brock's place as the next beast. To think, how do you beat this guy? And I think we also got a little bit of a tease between Ludwig Kaiser and Gunther. Because, Gunther came out, Kaiser had been eliminated, and he looked at Kaiser as if to say,
what the hell, man?
So, I mean, people said, Jey Uso's the next IC champion. Is he, though?
Him and Kaiser at WrestleMania would be very interesting.
Do we get an Imperium triple threat?
We've talked about it. I like it just because, I mean, it's not like when Randy Orton fought Cody and Teddy at WrestleMania 26. This is a legit, like, faction, the blow-up, if you will, that would do very well because all three can wrestle, number one. And also
Kaiser and Gunther have known each other for years. They have worked together on the indies.
So you put that history in together, and it works, And what I liked about it, too, as well, is they had Cody eliminate him again, which took a spot back to what we saw last year with Cody eliminating him to win. But I really did enjoy the fact that, and I got to say, CM Punk did his thing. CM Punk came out and did his thing. They also teased the tension with him and Drew McIntyre. Did you like him and Cody as the final two, just mollywopping each other, go to sleep?
It made sense. And, it's I think we're probably getting Punk versus Seth.
Mm-hmm.
I got to imagine the Raw or the World Heavyweight title is going to be decided in that spot. That Mania spot's probably going to be the Elimination Chamber match. I got to think.
Yeah, I think they're going to do a number one contenders Elimination Chamber match, and that will be where Punk wins.
And now let me ask you this. Who do you think Bayley's going to go up against?
First of all, the fact that she won an hour and 3 minutes, she killed it, and we'll talk about more of the women here in a minute. And I got to add this to it. They could do an angle like, you remember how when Triple H and Ric Flair wanted Batista to go wrestle JBL on SmackDown? You could have them saying, we got a great plan here. Bayley's going to go over to Raw. She's going to challenge Rhea Ripley. But Bayley hears them talking. And that sets her up to just go, you know what? I'm not going to challenge her. I'm going to challenge you. You've been toying with me for months. You've been just coming at me and just degrading me and saying, you're supposed to be the leader of Damage Control. Let's see if the plan goes. If you noticed on the friggin' SmackDown exclusive, they were talking about her winning the Rumble and challenging Rhea, and everybody got silent. And, the whole thing with the continuity of what happened to the plan when Asuka and Kairi Sane got eliminated. So I would prefer it to be Bayley and Io just because
And also, if you remember, watch it back.
Yeah.
After Bailey won, they kind of show, they showed both Bria and Io. Bria's kind of smiling, kind of like nodding her head.
Mm-hmm.
Io kind of is looking concerned.
Like, oh, what if she challenges me?
So I think we're getting Io versus Bailey. I think that's, the natural option.
Yeah.
But and kudos to Bailey.
Well, I think she deserves it. And I think it's the right choice, just because of the fact, like, that she's worked her butt off. Number one, but also number two, if you're gonna get her back to being a babyface after 5+ years now, you have to do something where it's a case of, okay, she needs backup now, and I think this would be the perfect time for Mercedes Moné to come back, being her best friend, to come back and help her against who she thought was her friends in Damage Control. You can tell the story right there with it if Mercedes Moné does not decide to go over to AEW.
Which, if she does, I really couldn't care any less.
Dude, she'll just pull
I'm
off some.
not one of those people that cares, oh, this person needs to go to AEW. That person needs to go to WWE. I don't care.
As long as you're making money and you're happy, that's the main thing.
And as long as there's wrestling for me to watch, I'm happier than a pig in shit.
I'm right there with you, man. But yeah, I think Bailey's going to go after Io to really culminate that. And I mean, with Cody, he chose Roman. So I think he finally finishes the story and we get that going into WrestleMania. I'm looking forward to it. We mentioned the world title match, the Royal Rumble. Which did you think was better of the Royal Rumbles? A lot of people thought the women's was better. I like
Easily.
Easily, the women's was better.
The women's was slightly better.
Mm-hmm.
I think both cases, the right people won.
Mm-hmm.
I will say the conclusion of the men's was better, though.
Well, yeah, it reminded me of, remember when Taker and Shawn were just fighting for like X amount of minutes and then finally The Undertaker won?
Yeah.
That's what it reminded me of, like a little bit of that.
And, I think we know we're getting Roman versus Cody again. And folks, if you honestly thought for 1 second it wasn't going to be Cody, I take you back to, I believe it was Monday of this past week. What got revealed? WWE 2K24. Who's the cover star of the Standard Edition?
Cody
Rhodes. They weren't going to do it. It made sense.
It did, and I think when you
those are very nice looking covers, by the way.
Oh yeah, him, Maria, and Bianca on the cover of 2K24 looks very much exciting. Was it the 40 years of WrestleMania, right?
Yeah, there's that edition too, which Cody's dog is going to be a downloadable exclusive.
They're going to put Pharaoh in it?
Yeah.
That's awesome. My thing, too, is when you look at what they're doing with the video game and the dog, the extra little details into it. Like, I was looking at the game. That's definitely a game that I would want to get my hands on, or at least just see the gameplay of it. Like, I like what they're doing. I think just showcasing not only 40 years of WrestleMania, but if you have different modes and really great stories in there, I'm hooked on it. I think it's going to be really good.
Yeah. And, Tony Khan, this is how you do a video game.
Exactly. Take notes, man.
I am still salty about that game.
I know. We've talked about it on the show. Daniel still hates AEW Fight Forever.
And I wanted to love it. But you know what? We're done. It came down to Cody and Punk, told the story there. It was good.
Mm-hmm.
I want more of it. Like, I feel like there's so many storylines that they could do. And honestly, Punk looked great.
I saw people complaining that he looked gassed, and I'm like, no. Like, you could tell he's been working. We saw him training with
and he's 45.
Exactly. He was training with Trick, Carmelo, Lexus King, and Braun Breaker. Like, he was working out with them. He was talking to Cora Jade and giving advice. And again, I'm going to say it. You got to think, like, him giving advice and them actually listening. It's like, at least I got people to listen to me now, unlike my former employer. So, yeah.
Jungle Boy says what?
Jungle Boy says, I'm sorry. And I'm going to say this, and I know this is going to piss off a lot of AEW fans. Who's going to draw you more money, CM Punk or Jungle Douche? I'm sorry. He can't talk, Jungle Boy. And do I really care about him being the scapegoat? No, I don't. I'm sorry. I don't care. I don't hate him.
I will say this.
Yeah.
in that situation, that was Jack Perry's fault.
Oh yeah, well he's dumb. He's dumb as fuck. He's a dumbass.
I will say before All Out,
Mhm.
that was on CM Punk. That was his
Oh
fault.
yeah, that was all CM Punk. Yeah.
This time, you know, good for both of them, though. It was a solid match. And Punk was, he wasn't the Punk from AEW where he was thinner. This one he was bulky. Like he'd put on some meat.
He knew that he had to go in there because he didn't really wrestle. I mean, he wrestled the house show matches with Dom, but like he knew he had to get in the right condition for the amount of time that he was going to be in that match. And I mean, it worked. I mean, it just tells now where CM Punk's story go. And we mentioned the Elimination Chamber, but I thought it was a good ending. Like we mentioned the Women's Royal Rumble. Not only did we have a lot of great talent in there, but I'm gonna say this fucking Jade Cargill, man. And this is the best Nia Jax has ever looked. Besides the Becky match, like this is the best she's looked in the Rumble.
Oh yeah. Oh, yeah.
The fact that Jade got her up. We saw the stare down with Bianca.
Easily.
We saw the stare down with Bianca. Like I thought she had a great performance.
Oh yeah. And you can tell people are saying, "Oh, she's green. She's still working. She's been at the performance center frequent, and it shows."
Mm-hmm.
If you get her in with the right person, you got to appreciate what it was. And when she lifted Nia easily, like everyone in the ring's expression, so like Becky's facial expression sold it.
Oh yeah,
Then she picked up Nia and just dropped her out of the ring.
That was a deadlift. That was not help. That was I'm a deadlift this bitch and throw you out the ring. She deadlifted her. That was a hell of a performance. And I mean, give me Jaden Nia, give me Jaden Bianca, give me Jaden whoever. I'm here for it. But yeah, no, she's training.
Becky's facial expression was great.
It was great. Like it sold it for me. Like, whoa, okay. I gotta ask you.
I think Bayley was the perfect person, and Bayley's slow, sudden face turn has been great.
I love it, man. Like we're slowly getting back into. We're not hugging yet, but we're slowly getting back
She
to
doesn't
that.
need to be.
Yeah, I mean, we're slowly getting back to the loving Babe Bailey with the smiles and happy. But
And you know what? To see the fans cheer for her again, and you can tell she's genuinely moved by that.
Oh yeah, after all these years that she's been there, yeah.
And it shows. What was it Cody said? From being unwanted to being undeniable.
From being undesirable to goddamn undeniable.
You look at that and you think of the four horsemen of Becky, Charlotte, Sasha. Bayley always kind of seemed like the one person on the out.
I noticed that when she came onto the main roster in 2016, like Charlotte.
I will outright say it. Bayley, I think, is the most talented one of them all.
She is very underrated. Very, very underrated.
And, now that we got her back, we've got Bayley going in Mania. I don't know how you don't do Bayley versus Io.
You have to. I think that's going to be really good. And I mean, it gives Io a challenge, and it culminates into that matchup that we've seen the teases and the subtleties, intricacies, and nuances going into Mania. I did have to ask you on a side note, by the way, with people saying Jade was green. It was the same thing people said with Ava Raine, The Rock's daughter in NXT. And I mean, she was. I mean, she needs to come along a little bit more, but she's going to definitely train to when she gets back to in-ring competition. And people were crapping, like putting her as the GM. I'm like, she's still on TV, and it gives her another elevated position. Like, why are we bitching about this?
And she's going to be working with her dad.
Yeah. It's very interesting, the trajectory of where everybody's going, and I'm excited because there's so many possibilities within the road.
And we got William Regal back on TV.
Oh, I know you were happy about that. I know you're really happy about that.
I love me some William Regal.
Me too, and it was great. He said, if you ever need anything, just give me a call. I like it.
There's talk of him working with his son Charlie Dempsey. He's kind of in that equivalent of the Blackpool Combat Club.
Yes.
Do you have him with that? Like, wrestling is headed towards another boom period. I don't care what people say. Fight me on it.
No, I'm excited. I think what we have right now with the Triple H regime, with the modern era now, with what we're having going forward, I mean, I'm excited. I'm really looking forward to, again, great storytelling and just great overall, as the kids say, cinema, if you will. And one other thing that we did not mention from the Royal Rumble, because we covered a lot of basis on the three matches, there was another one: Kevin Owens and Logan Paul. Logan Paul never ceases to amaze me. He did his thing, working over Kevin Owens' hand. He pulled out a freaking octopus stretch and a Kimura lock. Like, what the fuck, man?
Great match, shitty ending.
Okay, I thought it was funny and creative because Kevin Owens got the brass knucks, and Logan Paul has always teased how he won the U.S. title and beating Ricochet with the friggin' brass knucks. And the fact that the ref saw it, and then Kevin Owens gets mad and just power bombs him to the table, it leads to another match between the two. But I didn't hate it. But so you weren't a fan of the ref caught the brass knucks on the hand?
I thought it was silly, but I mean, I get it. Kevin Owens was not going to win the title. Like, odds are we're getting LA Knight taking the U.S. title off of Logan
No.
Paul. That's what we're getting at Mania, more than likely.
Mm-hmm.
I would have much rather seen something different. Logan getting disqualified.
I like that, but I think with the finish that we got, it was like Kevin Owens had it in the bag, but Logan just squeezes by just because the brass knucks. Logan didn't get caught. Kevin Owens did.
What I will say, what I did enjoy was, at the end where Kevin Owens is like, it's okay, it's okay, it's okay. He
Mm-hmm.
comes back out and just beats the shit out of Logan Paul.
I thought that was great. Did you like one of Logan's entourage guys coming in and just trying to distract him, and he kind of went on for a little too long?
Yeah, that dragged a bit. Grayson Waller and Austin Theory. Kind of seems like those two, where Grayson and Austin are kind of, destined to, kind of feud.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't hate it, and I think both of them have really come along since since the NXT days with Grayson. Grayson just continues to shine, and Austin
I
Theory.
still don't like Austin Theory.
I think all right. I'll
He's
add
a
to that.
putz.
He absolutely is a putz, but I think they're learning from Grayson because you can see what they want from him, and I think he's doing his best. You can tell he's trying. He's like,
and I think honestly that interview that they did in Australia with
Grayson Waller.
LA Knight and Grayson Waller, I think that did Grayson a lot of favors.
Protecting the business, brother. I mean, we didn't talk about it. I talked about it with Paul in the weekly review, but I got to ask you, did you like his Dr. David Schultz, Vader, Undertaker, Kuwait moment where he was ready to throw down on that guy?
Yeah. Now, whether that was, kayfabe or whether that was legit, I thought it was good.
My thing always is with professional wrestling, as we know and we love the craft and appreciate it. First of all, I could tell, like, you're not going to do this whole, like, you know what, come on, I'll fight you. And Grayson Waller's looking at that. You could tell LA Knight was like, I'm not doing this stupid shit. I'm not doing it. And Grayson Waller's like, you don't understand. Like, I'm going to really hit you if you come at me. Like, this is not no fake shit. Like, I will literally hit you if you come at me. And I think he would have, because it's like, you're not going to come on here. Well, like you said, you're not going to come out here and disrespect us. We're promoting the Elimination Chamber that's going to be here in my home country of Australia. Like, don't fuck me.
Even beyond that, you have the host who's like, we're not being disrespectful. And he's like, yeah, you are.
Yeah, you are. Well, the woman wasn't. The guy was. The woman was like, I'm not trying to be disrespectful. He's like, no, we love you.
He's like, no, you're fine.
You're
he
fine.
said it's you.
Ugh, fucking people, man. You got to, again, you would have thought after Dr. D and everything that we've seen, like, people would, like, come correct. I mean, even Nancy Grace's dumbass with the whole Ultimate Warrior death and trying to say everything was steroids, you fuck face bitch. Like,
and it's Jericho going off on her was
everybody did, because she was a putz. Like, Owen Hart didn't die of steroids, nor did, was it Mike Von Erich? I'm like, come on. Like, you just don't fucking get it.
Just shut up.
Shut up.
To quote The Rock, shut up, bitch.
Shut up, bitch. But no, that was the Rumble, man. I enjoyed it. Go back and watch it if you've not checked it out yet, because you should.
We talked surprises.
A lot of good surprises, yeah.
What were some of your favorite Rumble surprises?
As we have the topic today, yes. I figured we tie this into it because we did see some surprises that we talked about. For me, because New Yorker, fellow New Yorkers here, folks. John Cena, 2008, coming back after the pectoral tear, which we thought would be months and months and months and months, but he came back from October to January and he won the Royal Rumble in 2008. John Cena, and well, I mentioned John Cena, The Undertaker, 2007, winning the Rumble, which I thought was awesome. I like the fact that we got a lot of people coming in from like when 2002 when Goldust came back and you had the appearance of the Godfather. Mr. Perfect was in that Rumble. I mean, you cannot go wrong with people like, I mean, the Hurricane was a fun one to be in the Rumble. I thought having Mickie James in the Women's Royal Rumble was great. The returns of Trish, Lita, the whole Women's Royal Rumble in 2018, Molly Holly, Ivory, and Vicky Guerrero was a funny spot. Like, I think if you include those two of people that we've never seen, and especially now with the addition of Mickie James and Jordynne Grace, there's so much. But I loved the John Cena one sticks out just because of the New York thing, and I wasn't expecting.
Yeah.
Nobody was expecting him to come back so soon.
You know, honestly, to me, 2002 was always going to be one of my favorite Royal Rumbles.
Yep, me too.
You know, you hear my favorite wrestling theme song of all time, Mr. Perfect.
Yeah,
You
because
know,
he had not been in the WWE since what, like 93? Then he came back and
yeah,
appeared.
it'd been about 10 years. And to see him come out, do the whole, spit out the gum, hit it,
The towel.
do the whole thing. It's like you look at it and you just think, okay, we hadn't really seen him on TV since the West Texas Rednecks.
Oh God, rap is crap.
Hey,
Hey,
rap. Which honestly, if that were ever put on iTunes, I would buy it.
Me too.
WWE, you have the rights to it. Do it.
Do it. I mean, when we saw Rob Van Dam in the 2009 Rumble, that was cool. Goldust coming back, and they had that stare down with Cody. I mean, all right, I'm gonna put it just because it was the angle, and he's our boy. Mick Foley coming out in the Royal Rumble 04 and absolutely mollywhopping Randy Orton to set up to their feud going into WrestleMania Backlash in 04 was really, really cool.
What year was it? Was it 2000? Was it 98 or 99 when Foley was in the Rumble 3 times?
That was 98, yes. Cactus Jack, Mankind, and Dude Love were in the Rumble all at once.
I love he's told the story that I think was it Mankind first, right?
It was Mankind first, then Cactus Jack, then Dude Love.
And he tells a story that, he got eliminated as Mankind. They had all his gear like right lined up in order. Yep. And he said he had to do it so quickly. And one of the coolest moments.
It is. It's funny just because we've never seen that, and you have to do creativity when it comes to the Rumble. I mean, for me, I also have to put this one out there. Like, I loved like just the fact like you included like Beth Phoenix in the men's and women's Royal Rumble, like her kissing the Great Khali to eliminate him. Nia Jax
taking never seen anything like that.
No, and you had Chyna in the Rumble in '99, which was big. You had Nia Jax, and then she was in the women's Royal Rumble, and then the men's taking a super kick, a 619, and an RKO by Randy Orton.
And she told a story the other day that she didn't know that she was even going to be in the men's Rumble until like they started letting people in, and then she said, she had her gear on, and one of the producers pulled her and said, "Okay, we need to talk to you." And she said they pulled her into a room, and she said it was it was Randy Orton, it was Rey Mysterio,
Dolph Ziggler.
It was Ziggler, and it was somebody else. I forget who else was in there.
Mm-hmm.
It was one of the Latin stars. It wasn't Ray. It was maybe been Andrade.
Yes, Andrade was around that too. Yep.
And she said they told her, "Look, this is what we're gonna do." And she said she was beyond nervous because she said she did not want to screw up their finishes for them.
And she said in the interview, like, she didn't want to screw up the RKO, and Randy's like, "Okay, just turn to the left and I got you."
And she said, "Well, I'll take you the rest of the way."
I'll take you the rest
And
of
you
the
know what? Nia gets so much shit.
Yep.
And you know what? Maybe some of it's warranted. And I
My
don't know.
whole,
That's
my
your
whole,
opinion.
my whole.
And she tells that story. She didn't realize that because this was during the Thunderdome era.
Yes.
She didn't realize the mics caught that
It
until
was,
she got to the back and she said everybody's laughing, and they tell her you're trending worldwide.
dude, it was 3 years ago, but it's still fucking funny.
It
It's,
is.
it's still
And
funny.
the fact that she is able to laugh about it,
It's
where
wonderful.
so many people be like, "Really that?"
No, but she's like, yeah, I said it. I said it.
And it's we've gotten the mix of the BT being the dark order doing the adrenaline in my soul.
Something,
They do the adrenaline, and then it cuts to in my hole something something Cody
Cody.
Rhodes.
That was funny.
And
But
she's
no,
able to laugh about it.
you have to laugh at stuff like that. And I mean, we mentioned Pat McAfee doing the Drew Carey spot. Like when Drew Carey was in the Rumble and trying to pay Kane off, and then he just eliminates himself. Like, funny.
You have him come in, and he looks at Omos. First, he's like he comes in, he looks at Omos, like he looks up, and he's just like, nope. And he climbs over the top rope out, and then he's like, you know what? No, I'm gonna do it. And then he goes back in, and then he's just like,
Nope.
And then he climbs, and then over the top.
Yep. No, well,
30 seconds the whole time, and Michael Cole is just laughing. He's like, "Thank you, Pat."
Yes. You still didn't beat my record, but thank you. But no, the Drew Carey one was it was different because it's like Drew Carey's doesn't have athletic ability, and he's just like, yeah, they're gonna put me in the Rumble. Vince put me in the Rumble, and then he's like, yeah, no, I'm not sticking in there with with the Kane because the Hardys were fighting each other, and Drew Carey's like, okay, I'm gonna watch this and just sit back, and then here comes Kane, who then also smashes a guitar over another surprise in the 2001 Royal Rumble, the Honky Tonk Man. The Honky Tonk Man was in the Royal Rumble in 2001.
Didn't they also have Pete Rose as a gobbledygooker one year?
I think so, yeah. That's got to be it. No, that was probably like 99, 2000, around that time, yeah. No, not 2000, probably more 99-ish. They had, speaking of 2000, Bob Backlund.
Good old Bob Backlund.
That was great, though, because wasn't he running for, what was he running for, Congress or some
governor
something? And
good old Robert Backlund.
Good old Bob Backlund. I loved it. We're going to make Darren Young great again.
And the fact that they let that go and they didn't do more with it, like
he got an IC title shot, and that was it for Darren Young.
And Darren Young is, or Fred Ross, or whatever you want to put him as, he is so incredibly talented.
Mm-hmm. He is.
And they dropped the ball with him.
I think for me, like, speaking of dropping the ball, people, like, around that time, did you see that Gabby Tuft, the former Tyler Rex, is now kind of training even more? Like, she just did the Bernie Hammer training. Like, that's cool. I'm down for that if she comes back.
You know what? If you do something, and she's still, honestly, when she was in WWE as Tyler Rex,
mm-hmm.
She had something. Like, she has a unique look.
I mean, they started him out with the surfer gimmick, and then he just became this badass with dreads. Then they put him with Kurt Hawkins, and they were a tag team, and it sucked. And yeah, just nothing. And he had a lot of talent, which is a shame. But I mean, as far as Rumble surprises go as well, what are some that really stand out to you? I know we mentioned a lot with I'll say 2012. Michael Cole was the first one with the announcer stuff. Karma.
I think the biggest Royal Rumble surprise, and nothing is ever going to top this.
Yeah.
January of 2020. You know
Edge.
who I'm going with.
Edge.
Yeah. You're never going to top that. That reaction.
I think just because again, we have
exactly. It counts down, and you hear, "You think you know me," and you think, "No," and then you see him come out in his gear,
Mhm.
and then it's say what you want about his current AEW run. I'm an Edge fan. I've not been impressed.
No, I think his run right now has been lackluster. I mean, the match with Minoru Suzuki was whatever. I mean, I know he's trying to help the young talent and they're doing the Cope Open, but I mean, it's to lead to him and Christian again, but I'm just kind of like, whatever. And I don't mean to, I'm not trying to be disrespectful, but it's been very meh to me.
He's somebody that should be, you can have him on TV, fine. But his in-ring matches need to be used sparingly. They need to be special.
We don't need to see him wrestle every freaking week.
I mean, if this is what he wants to do, okay, cool.
Cool.
Him. But I will say this. His return at the Royal Rumble 2020,
Mhm.
that reaction, the crowd, just literally everybody. You see him come out, and then you just see like I mentioned with Naomi, the raw emotion and you see Edge, and when he stops, and you just see him come out, and the reaction on his face, you can see he's trying to hold it together.
He was holding back the tears.
He's somebody that he had been told, "You're not coming back."
And then
That's it. You're done. He had been told, for 10 years that it was done. His career was over. He had to retire. And, he got to retire as world heavyweight champion. He won his last match, so we thought up to that point. It was him versus Alberto Del Rio, which, he can stay the hell away.
all right, really quickly, what did you think about AAA bringing him back?
Why?
Well, Conan has spoken very much about like the politics are different in Mexico as opposed to the U.S. And I mean, we're not going to cancel him like the U.S. would. So I mean, Conan, viva la raza.
You know what? If you want to use him in AAA, I am not a fan of Del Rio. It's to me, he's another one that just it never clicked with what WWE needed him to do. We had that weird partnership with Zeb Coulter
Yes.
coming out on a little scooter,
And then him beating John Cena for the United States Championship. Yeah.
which was still weird. Was it Mex America?
The Mexico America, Mexican America, we the people. Yeah, I don't know.
Like,
I
oh,
didn't get it.
okay, makes no sense, but whatever.
Sure. But yeah, no, that was when you were mentioning Alberto Del Rio. I saw that they brought him back to AAA, and I remember hearing at the Hard to Kill, TNA's working with AAA, and I'm gonna say this: Scott D'Amore, no,
Stop it.
stop it, don't do it, don't do it, Scott, don't do it.
A guy who like said, "Oh, I'm working with WWE. They're gonna bring me back."
No,
And
no,
literally everyone in WWE's like,
no,
"We are?
yeah.
No."
I equate that to what Tony Khan working with CMLL, right? Like Tessa Blanchard, don't do it. No, don't do it. Don't do it. Don't bring her in. Oh man, but yeah, the different politics, folks. Different politics between Mexican politics and American politics. But anyway, this is not a political show. This is a wrestling show. But I have to add another comeback. Christian the following year. I mean, it was in the Thunderdome, but still, it was great to see Christian back. That was a big plus because he hadn't been wrestling in a while either.
And you know what? Then he left like right after.
I think they wanted him to feud with Big E or do something with Big E. Nothing.
But I'll be honest. I enjoy what Christian's doing now. It's great.
Well, he's a great heel, and the fact that he goes after the dead dad and just him being an absolute douche is great.
It works for him
Because he's a good heel. He's a good asshole.
that just sounded wrong.
I know. He's a He's great at being an asshole.
Some people it works for. Some people are better as heels than they are as. Christian is one of those guys. He's never been a good face.
Mhm.
Edge is better off as a heel.
Yeah, I mean, with what they're trying to do now with Edge doing the go fuck yourself and all that, like, he's a heel in my book. He's not a babyface. Edge is a better heel than a babyface, but I think they can work either way. I mean, Edge is just another one that's likable. Same with Christian. As far as surprises go, I mentioned for the women, Karma in 2012. What were your thoughts? That was a good one. That was an interesting one.
Cole was great.
Yep. The year prior, 2011, Matt Stryker having a mark out moment, and holy shit, Booker T and Diesel.
Yeah. That was just classic. Yeah.
Coming out from TNA, and then they just come right to WWE in the Royal Rumble.
There was Hulk Hogan saying that, "Oh, I'm going to show up in the Rumble," and people are saying he better not.
He just did the cold open, and that was it.
Well, people were afraid that they were going to bring him in as number 30.
Oh, thank God he did not. Sami Zayn was a much better choice.
I will say this. If this were the old era, if this were Vince McMahon, you know what? He probably would have been number 30.
Oh, if it was Vince, we're going to put him in at number 30, pal, and he's going to win the whole damn thing.
And I saw the comparison, you get rid of one controversial figure and then you use another one.
Yeah. Very true.
For what it was, 40 years ago, Hogan wins his first, world title. The 40 years of WrestleMania, it makes sense, and we do not need to see Hogan as, in a physical setting in the ring ever again.
But he's saved now, brother. He's saved.
He looks like hell.
But he's saved now, Daniel. He's saved, and then he helped the woman in the car crash.
Cool.
Cool. It's just
getting point. He's not physically able to have a match.
No, he cannot. He cannot drop the leg anymore, brother.
Yeah, I don't think he could. And he's walking with a cane, and it's don't do it. Don't be Rick. Don't be Rick. Don't be Ric Flair. Woo! Oh boy. I would rather see Ric Flair in a ring again.
No, don't put that evil on us. Don't put that evil on us. Don't do it.
But you know what I'm saying? Like, I would rather see Ric Flair in a ring before Hogan.
Oh no, I agree. I mean, we're probably going to see him get involved in Revolution, Sting and friggin' Darby Allin against the Young Bucks.
Probably.
But I will say as well.
And I'm going to say it now.
Yeah.
I know at the next show there is supposed to be Starks and Big Bill versus Darby and Sting. We're probably going to get Darby and Sting are going to win the tag titles.
Yes.
And it's going to lead to Darby and Sting versus the Bucks for the tag titles at Revolution. Bucks are going to win. They're going to be 3-time tag champions.
Yep. There you go.
And that's going to be Sting's last match.
Super kick pate.
When realistically, and I know we're on the Rumble, but you know what? I'm going to say this. You have an option here to make somebody. And I've said this before. Here's what they need to do.
Okay.
Have Swerve Strickland versus Sting as Sting's last match.
And have Swerve get the big
and then have Swerve just beat the ever-living dog shit out of Sting.
Like he did with Dustin Rhodes?
Beyond.
All right.
Just had Swerve just destroy him. And then he doesn't just pin him, he puts his foot on him. And then that's how you have it end.
I like it.
And you want somebody to get absolute heel heat. There you go.
Yeah, man. And I will say this, just the final thing I have to say about the Rumble, because we mentioned a lot of surprises and the glitz and the glamour, the pageantry of the event. Bully Ray in 2015 and the Boogeyman was fun, but I think one that we do have to say, because we mentioned Edge and we mentioned all these great legends coming back, so to speak. I got to go since it has been 2016. AJ Styles making his debut in the Royal Rumble.
You talk about surprise.
Oh yeah. It
was absolutely great.
I mean, he didn't even think people would know who he is. I'm like, bro, people know who you are.
And I still remember it was counting down, you hear that music, which I guess initially that music was, they were saying for Shinsuke, maybe?
Yeah, first of all, that would have not worked. And I think,
it would have been horrible. It would have been horrible.
They didn't want to give him that. They wanted to give him Glorious, Bobby Roode's theme song.
Oh, that would not have worked for Shinsuke.
Not that, or AJ Styles' team would have worked.
But, and then you hear that music and you're thinking, like, you hear, like, the church organ and you're thinking, like, okay.
Like Roman Reigns' face when he heard the music.
And then you hear it counting down, and then you hear the crowd reaction. You're thinking, like, okay, who is it?
Mm-hmm.
And then you see AJ come out. You're like, no freaking way. Because, you always hear misdirection. They had leaked a report that he was going back to TNA. Like, okay. You're like, okay, cool, whatever. And then you see him, and you're like, all right, then.
Yep, he's here.
He is him.
He is him.
And, I got to say, Carmelo Hayes looked like $1 million last night.
Oh, he looked great. I mean, with what they're doing now with him, and next week is Vengeance Day, I'm assuming the turn on Trick is going to happen there.
Or is Trick going to be the one to turn?
Oh, man. I think because Trick is such a hot babyface, I think you have to have Carmelo do the heel turn.
It would make sense.
Mm-hmm.
Unless they're going to go in a complete, left turn and have it be somebody else.
Man, see, now you got me hooked with Vengeance Day too, because again, 5 good matches next week, and then we have Elimination Chamber. Then, folks, just all I'm gonna say is stay tuned to professional wrestling and stay tuned.
We're in a boom period, folks.
For possibilities.
We have TNA's back. We have AEW doing cool stuff. There is so much in wrestling. Thoughts on Tony Khan aside, AEW is a hot product right now. You've got Okada and Mercedes Moné probably coming to AEW, which, cool.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see what they do. There is so much coming. There's, AEW, there's WWE bringing in Jordynne Grace and, not burying her. You have her, and she was in the, in the women's rumble for a good hot minute.
Oh, for real, man!
She was in there a while, and they built up TNA.
Well, it gives them exposure because I'm going to say it, like the AEW Impact relationship sucked because it was so one-sided with AEW dominating TNA. Now WWE working with TNA gives them more longevity and lividity of just going out there and killing it and really showcasing
their Grace looked like they made her look like $1 million.
Oh, agreed, dude.
We already know who she is and what she can do.
Right.
And now this makes TNA look good because you have people who, you hear the TNA name, they realize, I didn't know they were still around.
Yeah, and I mean, it also gives a chance for WWE people to go over to TNA. So that,
exactly. Like I said, I would have liked to have seen Moose in the men's rumble. I feel like that was a missed opportunity.
Yeah.
But, we've got that coming. It's, I have said it. Carmelo Hayes is $1 million. We had Trick Williams on SmackDown this past week. Trick Williams is a star.
That was a hell of a pop.
I'm looking at that and like, they're your next 2 big stars right there.
I think that the stars are aligned and there's going to be so many great stars being made and being into the universe. And I got a lot of
Stardust out there.
Stardust. I love this, man. And there is a lot more to come of Uncaged, as Daniel we are about to hit the halfway point, and for our 5th episode, we are going to be talking about wrestling managers. Yes, we're going to talk about Bobby the Brain Heenan. We're going to talk about Paul Heyman. We're going to talk about Miss Elizabeth. We're going to talk about Sherry Martel. We're going to talk about Slick. We're going to talk about the Grand Wizard. We're going to talk about
Harvey
everything.
Whippleman, not Harvina.
Harvey and his love for sweet Bertha Faye. We're gonna go into detail about the greatest professional wrestling managers.
Good old, oh yes, Paul Bearer.
Oh yes.
Fun fact.
Yes.
Who was the? I'm going to ask you a little bit of trivia questions. See if you know this.
Okay.
Who was the last person to be managed by Paul Bearer, aka Percy Pringle?
L.A. Knight. Yeah.
Yeah.
Alrighty.
A lot of people don't realize that, but he was the last person to ever be managed by Paul Bearer.
Was that like Championship Wrestling from Hollywood and all that, right?
Yeah, NWA Championship Wrestling from Hollywood.
Nice. Okay. So we're gonna dive into that in our halfway point of season 3. And what I want y'all to do is subscribe to the YouTube channel. Thank you for 736 subscribers so far. Let's keep it up. Let's get it to 1K, baby. Subscribe, comment, like, click the fucking bell, you sons of bitches. But no,
why haven't you done it already?
Why haven't you done it already? And check out more great content with Uncaged, Deep Into the Heart of Wrestling with my boy Robert Davis and Nicola. Check out On the Mic with Mike, Pop Culture History Podcast, and some old school shows mixed with some new school shows. Thank you for the love and everything thus far with how the channel is going. And Daniel Crimmins, you got your own channel, Mr. Pile Driver Pundit. Where can we subscribe to you on the Pile Driver Pundit?
Right here on the YouTube. You know, I just recorded episode 4 yesterday. I believe it should be up by now. As if YouTube did their stuff, you know, check it out, you know, subscribe, like, comment, you know, click all the bells, all the good, happy stuff, you know, help grow. You know, I want to do a lot more, you know, we got a lot more coming, you know, it's, maybe, you know, Mike and I, maybe we have guests on, you know, maybe, I think, you know, you're just going to have to, tune in.
We have a lot of our peeps in the podcasting community, and we'll see what we can do as far as giving you guys content with some guests. I mean, we can have some co-wing with Deep Into the Heart of Wrestling and Uncaged. You know, you never know, but I'm excited to take the journey and see where it goes. Of course, Steve and Mike show will be coming back very soon. More LFC podcasts or Lingerie Fighting Championships, and yeah, let's keep rocking and rolling, man. So
keep on rocking in the free world.
This man right here. For
Daniel, you know, I gotta give you a pop culture reference.
Yes, you do. Keep on rocking into the free world, baby, and keep on rocking me, baby. For Daniel Crimmins, my name is Mike Larkin. Thank you so much for listening to another edition of Uncaged, and there's going to be a Rumble tonight. I'm the Hawk.
And thanks for stopping by.
All right. I was doing the Hawk and Animal Rumble thing, man. Have you ever heard that, the Hawk and Animal thing? There's going to be a Rumble tonight. A very Rumble. That's right. Thanks for stopping by.
You know, I had to do the Anchorman reference.
Well, we will thank you all for stopping by for this son of a gun. My name is Mike Clark. We'll see you next time. Bye, everybody.
And stay classy.